Hi, my name is Kurt Lamming. I am the pastor at St Paul Lutheran Church on Dogleg Road in Dayton, Ohio. And I'd like to take a moment today to think with you about the question, where was Jesus born? Now, at first, it might sound like a silly question. He was born in Bethlehem, right? That's what the Bible tells us. But think more specifically. When you think of the Christmas story, where do you think of Jesus being born? Chances are, when we imagine the Christmas story, we imagine something like this. Joseph and Mary travel to Bethlehem. They arrive at this inn. They knock on the door, ask for a room to stay in, but the innkeeper turns them away, saying there are no empty rooms, but then says, "Oh, you can go out back and stay with the animals. It's not ideal, but at least it's a place to stay." Usually, that's how we think of the story. But let me read what the story actually says. This is Luke chapter 2, verses 6 and 7. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. There are two things to notice here. First, there is no innkeeper. The reason there's no innkeeper is the second thing to notice. There's no inn. The word translated inn here does not mean hotel. Rather, it means guest room or upper room. It is the same word that the gospel writer uses later to describe where Jesus and his disciples had their Last Supper, in the upper room. Houses at that time were basically three levels. The upper level of the house was the guest room, or the upper room. The middle level was the main residence, and then the lower level is where the animals were kept. Animals were not kept in some separate building away from the main residence. They were kept with the people for two reasons. One, it was a way to protect the animals, right? You don't want somebody coming along and stealing your animals, so you want to protect them and keep them safe. Also, the animals would have provided a little bit of heat for the residents. Think about all the body heat that those animals would have generated. So the animals would have been on the lower level of the house. That is more likely where Mary and Joseph were. Also, this idea of somebody turning them away would have been unheard of. That would not have fit with the strong idea of hospitality, especially when it's one's own relatives. Chances are pretty good that the people who lived in the house where Mary and Joseph stopped were Joseph's relatives. Remember, they were traveling to Bethlehem because Joseph was descendant of the house and family of David. And all of the other relatives would have been traveling there too. So chances are that the other people got there first, took up the space in the guest room, and when Mary and Joseph finally arrived, there wasn't any more room. However, they would not have been turned away. Instead, the person living in the house would have welcomed them in and would say that they would be in the bottom level with the animals. It wasn't private, it wasn't clean, but it was a place in the home where people would have been nearby. And there would have been a manger in that level that would have then turned into a makeshift crib for the newborn Jesus. Later in this gospel, the writer does talk about an inn with an innkeeper. It happens in the story we call the Good Samaritan in Luke chapter 10. Think about that story again. When the Samaritan comes along and rescues the guy who was left by the side of the road, he takes him to an inn and pays the innkeeper to take care of him. In that case, the word used for inn there is not the same word used in Luke 2. In Luke 2, it is not about an inn with an innkeeper. It is about an upper room or a guest room. There's no innkeeper in the Christmas story. This is why it's so important to do this historical research when reading the Bible. It really gives us some more background that we don't get when we just read the text by itself. But regardless of where Jesus was born, the promise in the Christmas story is that he was born for us. He is God with us, born to an unlikely couple in an unlikely area of the world, reminding us that God comes to us in our messy human condition. So please leave a comment and let me know what you think of this idea of Jesus being born in the lower level of a house and not in some barn out back behind a hotel. Thanks for watching.